Today I'm going to talk about how teachers in experiential education can implement trust of students in a way that promotes and accelerates their learning and professional formation. Professors can use trust of students in experiential education to accelerate and build competence in their professional formation in some pretty serious ways, and I can start by talking about how not to do it. Early in my career, when I first started teaching law students how to practice law in clinics, I had just come out of private practice where I was a senior associate at a big law firm handling some pretty major litigation. I was being managed by partners in that law firm, and I was managing junior associates in that law firm, and above everything else, we wanted to do excellent work for the clients, and serving the clients and getting everything right was absolutely paramount. And when I started teaching law students, I began by treating law students as I had been treated by partners and as I had treated junior associates, which was to manage them, which was to make sure that their work was right all the time, to reprimand them when it was wrong, to step into them when they made mistakes, and to make sure above and beyond everything else that the work was excellent every time, the first time. That was not good for teaching and learning. It was very good for efficient law practice, and it was good for quality control, but it wasn't good for experiential education because the students were just doing what I told them to do as if I were their boss, as opposed to learning from it as a teacher. And so I had to learn pretty soon that wasn't an effective way to educate. It wasn't an effective way to run a law practice. And in experiential education, I think often when we put students into situations where they're having to deal with real people, with real circumstances, with real projects in the world, whether that's giving advice to nonprofits or practicing law in court or in any other kind of context. In business school, it could be providing portfolios to businesses. In social work school, it could be doing clinical hours. We tend to want the students to get it right when in fact they actually need to learn from us, and I think those are distinct concepts. I went to a mentor of mine in my first summer after I started teaching, and I was complaining to her that I had not felt like I had been a very good teacher in this regard, and I was really concerned about how to balance quality control and the excellence of our work with teaching students and not just managing them. And she alarmed me by saying she never went with students to interviews. She never went to student meetings with clients. She never sat in on phone calls. And I was appalled and amazed because I thought, how in the world do you keep them from messing up? What happens if they make a mistake? And she said, if they make a mistake, I send them back. And it was this incredible moment of sort of liberation for me when I realized that I needed to trust my students more with the projects and to not worry so much that things would go awry, and if they did, that almost everything is redeemable in a way that we can fix and make sure that we don't commit too much malpractice. I think it's important to the students, and I think it's important to their future clients and to their careers that they are able to feel the shift that happens when they stop working for themselves, for their own grade, for their own rank, for the approbation of their professor, to move into a position where they are actually working for the client or working for the project or working for the community that they're trying to serve. And when they feel that burden shift from their performance to making a difference to their grade to where their performance makes a difference for the client, then that makes a huge difference. And I feel like the way that they achieve that is by feeling like it actually is on them, that the responsibility, the burden, the outcome actually rest on them, not on me. And so I need to be able to give them as much latitude and as much independence and as much autonomy as I can so that they feel that weight and they feel that burden, and frankly that they feel the fear of what might happen if they don't get it right, because I think that creates in them a new response to their learning. They're learning for the sake of the client. They're working for the sake of the client, not for the sake of themselves. And in professional school, like law school, that's what we're actually trying to train them to do, not just to know the law, but to understand how to react to a client, how to understand to react to a problem, rather than just waiting on someone to tell them how to do that. A lot of people don't teach in experiential education. They teach in traditional classrooms where they're standing up and they're talking about a point of doctrine or some sort of just content that they're trying to convey to students. And I think that that's important. It's important for people to have an understanding of what the law or their subject matter or whatever it is, so that then they can apply it. But I think to move beyond that into professional formation is part of what this level of education really is. It's not just learning new information, it's learning how to apply that information in the field. So if a traditional teacher is in a classroom behind a podium, I think that it is incumbent upon them to try to find ways to articulate and translate those lessons into ways that will benefit future clients. And then to, in as much as they can, simulate situations where they put people into a situation where they're going to feel as much fear as they possibly can in the confines of a classroom. And frankly, I think that there are some things that you just cannot simulate. I think there are some situations that you can only experience by stepping into them, and everything else is just an academic exercise.